Welcome back everyone to last week's news today. Most of our news came from the live stream this week, so we're going to jump right into it. Some of you may know that the original recording of the Alpha 2 tank preview was not well received by the community due to the way in which it was showcased. Stephen and Margaret were quick to acknowledge the feedback from viewers and immediately responded that the segment would be recorded again. Stephen said, as promised, I've re-recorded today's preview of the Alpha 2 tank archetype. Traditionally, I've tried to take the approach of discovery for newer viewers of our game, but going forward, the feedback I've heard loud and clear from the community is to be more definitive and curated in the conversation as well as my gameplay. As always, this is a work in progress in both art and design. Our goal is to test and collect your thoughts and experiences to make it so that you can be proud to call Ashes home. You can check out the new recording via the link down below. Please do let Intrepid know your thoughts on the presentation format in the comments section, as this will help direct future live streams. Let us begin with the YouTube comment by Actually Yepid? Epod! Sorry! I have been wondering how you will capture the storytelling from a casual point of view. Arguably of, if not the best trailers out there, is SWTOR, where they spend tons of money on capturing an audience through some phenomenal trailers. Are you looking to do the same, or what kind of trailers can we expect from Ashes of Creation? Steven replied saying that high-end, big-budget trailers were not going to be a focus of Ashes. With that being said, this doesn't mean that Ashes won't have trailers, as Steven continued to note that they will produce mini trailers with in-game captures. For in-game cinematic storytelling, Steven highlighted that every server in Ashes of Creation will have its own story, which we know, but because of this, storytelling will be unique. You'll be utilizing tools which will capture the server's story through the players. These recorded captures will be on memory fragments that players can collect throughout the game when significant story events occur. You'll be able to relive the server's history through these memory fragments. That's pretty cool. Perhaps this will be something we will see in the scientific node libraries? Moving on to the low-level Alpha 2 based archetype tank. This tank preview iterates on feedback from the Cleric livestream on attack animation and root motion for the mace and shield. The devs took a look and focused on some pose holds, quick transitions, and an overall satisfying cadence. In Alpha 1, the tank felt more like an offensive melee fighter because it didn't have many archetype abilities to fulfill that role, but now are able to see a lot more defense, control, and threat mechanics to help defend yourself and the party. Now before I start, don't worry, even though they didn't show off a taunt, there will be one as the taunt comes later than level 15. We'll go left to right on the action bar, starting with Shield Assault. A 10-second cooldown, 7-meter range, and it bashes the target with your shield, dealing damage and applying the shaken condition. If the target is already suffering from the shaken condition, stun the target instead. It's a nice short-range ability that gives some threat and has a potential to stun. Next is Inciting Strikes with an 8-second cooldown, and it slashes twice in a forward cone while adding additional threat. Pretty basic AoE threat generator. Now Tremering Bellow is a 15-second cooldown and releases a Thundering Shout in a forward cone, applying the staggered condition on enemy targets. Also stomps the ground, dealing damage around the caster and tripping enemies affected by the snared condition. Combo this with Grapple, and you can have an instant knockdown to start the fight. Very nice. Next is Grit, a 1-second cooldown and a 4-meter range. It applies a buff to the caster, reducing incoming damage by 15%, but also reducing movement speed by 30% and outgoing damage by 20%. Each incoming hit consumes a stack of Courage to reduce incoming damage by an additional 15%. Courage cannot be generated while Grit is active. Good damage reduction buff depending on how easy it is to get Courage, of course. Aegis is a 20-second cooldown that instantly dispels all negative effects on the caster, then creates a protective dome behind the tank for 15 seconds, transferring 50% of all damage received by targets within the area to the tank instead. All targets within the cone also receive increased status effect resistance for the duration. An interesting ability. Hopefully we see a few more like this in the future for all the support classes. And finally, Grapple, a 20-second cooldown and an 18-meter range that takes aim for a moment before hurling a hooked chain in a line, damaging the first target it contacts and immediately pulling them to the caster. The target suffers a tapering snare for 3 seconds. Intrepid are looking to achieve a classic tank, which is what they feel players are looking for. They're not wanting to redefine what the tank is, but they are looking to improve upon it. Tanks will have their threat management, generation, and mitigation, battlefield control, and CC effects. They are also looking at abilities that offer more direct ways of defending your party, such as with Aegis, which will give the tank a more prevalent role in PvP. Steven also revealed that there has been internal discussions on the name tank, but an update on whether it will change or not will not be coming in the near future. If you have any feedback that you want to give on the tank update, then head to the forums. We'll post the link down below the video. Also during the live stream, we got to see a new iteration of the UI, and to be honest, I would accept this if the game came out with it. Obviously, I would love for there to be a more refined version of it, but this is quite acceptable. Except for the nameplates. I can barely read most of the enemy nameplates and find it hard to track who the tank is targeting. Luckily, Steven shared with us that their transition to Unreal 5.1 is due to be completed in the next 1 to 2 weeks, and that the nameplate UI is currently being worked on and should be done in about 1 to 1.5 months. The world map I really like. You can even see a gateway just above the large body of water. Also, what do you think of the traditional group loot system? Intrepid are looking for your feedback. Links are in the description. And we also got a little hint to boss and mob behaviors being adaptive and dynamic based on encountered scenarios, which is part of the AI system, which we have not yet seen. Hopefully this might be something we will get to see during the Cyclops encounter, which we will see at some point in the next few months. And speaking of Cyclopses, we got to preview some of the character art for the Cyclops weapons. Margaret shared with us that there will be multiple types of Cyclops. This Carphin shield hints that we might get a wee tease to the Tower of Carphin dungeon. If you want to know more about the Wreckage of Carphin, you can check out the link below, as we have the lore which was shared during the charity fundraiser stream. And lastly, we have some fan art for Fan Art Friday. It looks amazing. Well done. And now to finish off the news, there were no announcements for Alpha 2, but Steven mentioned that they currently had 100,000 players for Alpha 2. This is a significant jump from the original estimate of 30,000. Margaret did mention there will be pre-Alpha 2 testing before the launch of Alpha 2. Now that was a long one, and if you're still here, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all real soon.